The Hunter's Warning. Kazov stood motionless in the grand chamber of the Makari Hunting Guild, his scaled skin reflecting the amber light from the ceremonial flames. 6 veteran hunters surrounded him, their postures displaying a mixture of confusion and growing anger. The chamber, adorned with trophies from 1,000 worlds, had never witnessed such defiance from its most decorated hunter. "You refuse the contract." Elder Fax's voice carried dangerous undertones, his elaborate headdress of bone and metal, signifying his status, clicked softly as he tilted his head. "Perhaps I misheard you, Hunter Kazov." Kazov's 4 eyes remained fixed on the holographic contract floating between them. The payment offered was astronomical, enough to elevate his clan's status for generations, yet his clawed hand made no move toward the acceptance panel. "I will not hunt humans," Kazov said, each word carefully measured, "and I advise the guild to strike them from our prey registry altogether." A ripple of disbelief passed through the assembled hunters. The Makari had been the apex predators of the known galaxy for millennia, their evolutionary path resulting in perfect hunting machines, enhanced vision across multiple spectrums, regenerative capabilities, unmatched strength, and cognitive abilities specialized for tracking and killing. No species had ever been removed from their prey registry once added. Elder Fax's breathing slits widened in barely controlled fury. "You dishonor this chamber with cowardice." Kazov's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair remained vigilant of the other hunters. "I have brought 347 worthy trophies to these halls. My honor is beyond question." "Then explain yourself," hissed another elder, Scarix, her mottled hide darkening with irritation. Kazov activated his personal data sphere, projecting images into the chamber center. "What you see is the aftermath of the Phobian expedition." The images showed the broken bodies of Makari hunters, their characteristic armor shattered, weapons destroyed. The elders leaned forward, studying the carnage with professional interest. 22 of our finest hunters," Kazov continued, "eliminated by a species the guild classified as Category 3 prey, supposedly soft-skinned omnivores with minimal natural defenses. Hunting accidents happen," Elder Thax dismissed. "Equipment failures, environmental anomalies." "This was no accident," Kazov interrupted, violating protocol. "I was there. I am the only survivor." The chamber fell silent. Even the ceremonial flames seemed to dim. 10 cycles ago, we deployed to a human frontier world designated Epsilon Reach. Intelligence indicated a small settlement of perhaps 200 humans, ideal for a standard trophy harvest. Kazov's voice became distant, lost in memory. "Our preliminary assessment confirmed they possessed only basic weaponry, standard colony defenses. We anticipated harvesting perhaps 20 prime specimens before their inevitable retreat." Zoth manipulated the projection, showing the initial landing approach. "We followed all guild protocols. We disabled their communication systems, isolated their settlement from orbital support, and began the hunt at nightfall, when their visual capabilities are most compromised." The images shifted to night vision footage of the hunting party spreading out around the human settlement. The first night proceeded as expected. We claimed 7 trophies, each hunt executed with precision. The humans appeared disorganized, frightened, exactly as predicted by our intelligence. Kazov paused. "We returned to our hunting lodge, satisfied with our performance." Elder Scarix clicked her mandibles impatiently. "Yet you stand here, recommending we abandon a legitimate prey species. What changed?" "Everything changed on the second night," Kazov said. "When we returned to continue the hunt, we found the humans had adapted." The projection shifted again, showing thermal scans of the settlement, where previously human heat signatures had been clearly visible within their dwellings. Now there was nothing. "They had created thermal masking," Kazov explained. "In a single-day cycle, they analyzed our hunting methods and developed countermeasures with remarkable speed. Primitive adaptations would hardly stop experienced hunters," argued Thax. "True," acknowledged Kazov. So we adjusted our approach, using sonic trackers to detect movement. We located a group of humans in what appeared to be their food production facility. The projection showed the hunting party converging on a large structure at the settlement's edge. It was a trap, Kizoth said simply. They had rigged the entire structure with improvised explosives. 3 hunters died instantly. The elders stirred uncomfortably as the footage showed the building erupting in flames, the night suddenly bright as day. Still, we were Makari. We had hunted across the stars for eons. We would not be denied by prey. We regrouped and pressed the advantage, assuming their defensive resources would be focused on the explosion site. Kizoth's upper eyes closed briefly as if in pain. That's when they revealed their true nature. They had studied our movements, identified our patterns. They disabled our stealth systems using frequency disruptors they had assembled from their agricultural equipment. Suddenly, we were visible to them, but they remained hidden. The next images showed Makari hunters falling one by one, struck by projectiles from unseen positions. Their weapons were primitive, but used with devastating precision. They targeted joint articulations in our armor, vital organs, sensory organs, all weak points they had identified from the hunters they had killed the previous night. They had dissected our fallen and weaponized that knowledge within hours. Elder Fax's aggression had faded, replaced by professional assessment, impressive adaptation. But still, superior hunters should prevail. You misunderstand, Kizoth said firmly. The humans weren't fighting this prey. They weren't seeking escape or survival. They were systematically eliminating the threat. Thus, he expanded the projection to show the tactical movements of the human defenders, not random, but coordinated, communicating through methods the Makari surveillance couldn't detect. By the 3rd day, 19 of our hunting party were dead. The hunters became the hunted. What few of us remained attempted to retreat to our ship, but found it compromised. They had studied our technology and disabled critical systems. Kizoth's voice grew quieter. I escaped because Hunt Master Vox sacrificed himself, drawing their attention while I fled into the wilderness. For 10 days, I evaded capture, watching from hiding as they dismantled our hunting lodge, studied our weapons, our communication devices, even our biological samples. And then, prompted Scarix. And then they left me a message. Kizoth displayed a final image. A crude symbol burned into the hull fragment of their destroyed ship. Their warning system, universal across their species. It means danger, do not approach. They knew I still lived. They could have continued hunting me. Instead, they issued a warning. Kizoth deactivated the projection. I stole a human transport vessel and returned to Makari space. Before I left their system, I accessed their communication network. The humans had already distributed detailed information about Makari physiology, technology, and hunting methods to every human settlement within 50 light years. Elder Fax's breathing had slowed to a contemplative rhythm. One isolated incident is part of a pattern. Kizoth interrupted again. I have since studied every Makari hunting expedition involving humans over the past century. 73% ended with significant hunter casualties, yet our intelligence continues to classify them as Category 3 prey. Kizoth stepped closer to the elders. The humans are not prey that evolved to flee predators. They are predators who evolved beyond the need for natural weapons. Their evolutionary advantage isn't their strength or speed. It's their unparalleled ability to analyze threats and develop solutions. He gestured to the vast trophy hall around them. We hunt for glory, to prove our superiority. Humans don't hunt. They solve problems. When threatened, they don't see predators. They see obstacles to eliminate. Permanently. The chamber remained silent as the elders processed his words. In their brief history as a spacefaring species, humans have encountered 17 predatory civilizations. Kizoth continued. 7 of those species no longer exist, not because humans waged war, but because those species refused to recognize humans as equals and continued to view them as prey. Kizoth stepped back from the contract display. I refuse this hunt not from fear, but from wisdom. The Makari have thrived for millennia by selecting our hunts carefully. Humans should not be hunted because they refuse to be prey. And any species that fails to recognize this does not survive long enough to correct their error. Elder Thax studied Kizoth for a long moment. Your warning is noted, Hunter Kizoth. The council will deliberate on this matter. As Kizoth turned to leave the chamber, a younger hunter stepped forward from the shadows. Vex, ambitious and decorated with trophies from a dozen worlds, regarded Kizoth with undisguised disdain. If the great Kizoth has lost his nerve, Vex announced to the chamber, I will gladly accept the human contract. Kizoth paused but didn't turn. Then you will learn as I did, young hunter, but I fear your lesson will be final. As the massive doors of the hunting chamber closed behind him, Kizoth felt a growing unease. The Makari had survived as apex predators by recognizing and respecting worthy adversaries. If the guild could not see humans for what they truly were, he feared the consequences would extend far beyond a failed hunt. For the first time in his long hunting career, Kizoth found himself hoping that prey would escape. The council's gambit. The Makari High Council chamber pulsed with bioluminescent light, the vast circular space accommodating the 24 council members who governed all aspects of their society. At the center stood Vex, his hunting armor freshly adorned with new trophies, small tokens from recent expeditions, nothing compared to what he planned to bring back from the human hunt. The preparations are complete, Vex announced, his voice carrying effortlessly through the acoustically perfect chamber. My hunting party will depart for the human colony on Verdant within 2 cycles. High Counselor Jurat, eldest of the governing body, leaned forward on her hovering platform. Hunter Kizoth's warnings have caused concern among certain factions. His experience with humans cannot be dismissed lightly. Vex's secondary eyes narrowed in annoyance while his primary pair remained fixed on the council. Zoth's experience is that of failure. My hunting record stands unblemished. Unblemished against Category 4 and 5 species, noted another counselor. You have never hunted humans. Precisely why this expedition is necessary. Vex replied smoothly. The Makari cannot allow a single failed hunt to compromise our standing as the galaxy's premier predators. If humans prove as adaptive as Kizoth claims, they deserve proper assessment. The chamber fell silent as the main doors parted. Kizoth entered, no longer in hunting gear but dressed in the formal robes of a guild elder, an honor bestowed upon him after centuries of successful hunts. The assembly stirred. His presence had not been expected. Elder Kizoth, acknowledged Jurat. The council recognizes your right to speak on matters of the hunt. Kizoth moved to the chamber center, standing opposite Vex. Though older, his posture remained perfect, his movements fluid and controlled. I come not to challenge Hunter Vex's right to pursue his chosen prey, Kizoth began. I come to ensure the council understands the full implications of this hunt. Vex made a dismissive gesture. The implications are clear. Either humans are worthy prey, or they are not. My expedition will settle this question definitively. This is not about worthy prey, Kizoth countered. This is about survival. Ours. A murmur passed through the council chamber. Kizoth activated a data sphere, projecting a stellar map showing hundreds of worlds. The green markers indicate known human settlements, he explained. 40 years ago, they occupied 12 systems. Now they inhabit over 200. Their expansion rate is irrelevant. Vex said. It is precisely relevant, Kizoth insisted. Humans do not expand like other species. They don't seek only habitable worlds. They terraform hostile environments, establish outposts in asteroid belts, build massive orbital habitats. Where other species see obstacles, humans see opportunities. The council studied the map with growing interest as Kizoth continued. What makes them dangerous is not their physical capabilities, but their problem-solving approach. They do not accept limitations, they engineer solutions. And when threatened, they apply this same ingenuity to elimination of threats. Vex scoffed. You speak as if these soft-skinned creatures are somehow superior to the Makari. We who have hunted across the stars for millennia before they learned to make fire. Not superior, Kizoth clarified. Different. We evolved as apex predators, physically optimized for the hunt. Humans evolved as persistence predators and problem solvers. Their ancestors would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, tracking it for days if necessary. Kizoth expanded the projection to show historical data. In their brief history as a unified species, they have faced extinction-level events multiple times. Asteroid impacts, pandemics, climate catastrophes, nuclear warfare. Each time, they adapted and overcame. All species adapt, Counselor Jurat observed. Not like humans, Kizoth said firmly. Most species adapt over generations through natural selection. Humans adapt within lifetimes, sometimes within days, through technology and social coordination. The Phobian expedition proved this. Within hours of our first hunt, they had analyzed our methods and developed countermeasures. Vex stepped forward, his patience visibly thinning. I have studied the Phobian failure extensively. Your hunting party made critical errors, attacking the same settlement on consecutive nights, failing to employ multiple hunting methodologies simultaneously. My approach will be superior. Kizoth turned to face Vex directly. You believe you have found weaknesses in my strategy. But that is precisely how humans think as well. They identify weaknesses, they adapt, they overcome. And then, this is crucial, they share that knowledge. He manipulated the projection to show human communication networks spanning their territory. When one human learns something, all humans can potentially learn it. They do not guard knowledge as we do, they disseminate it. The humans on Verdant will know everything the humans of Epsilon Reach learned about us. For the first time, uncertainty flickered briefly across Vex's features, but he quickly suppressed it. Then they will provide an even worthier challenge. Kizoth deactivated the projection and addressed the council directly. I do not question Hunter Vex's skill. I question the wisdom of potentially provoking the species that does not understand the concept of sport hunting. To humans, predation is existential. They will not see trophy hunters. They will see an extinction threat, and they will respond accordingly. High Counselor Jurat raised a clawed hand for silence. Your concerns are noted, Elder Kizoth. However, the Council has already approved Hunter Vex's expedition. The knowledge gained will be valuable regardless of outcome. Kizoth bowed in formal acceptance of the Council's decision, then turned to Vex. If you insist on proceeding, at least allow me to share what I learned about human weaknesses. Vex hesitated, pride warring with practicality. Finally, he inclined his head. The knowledge of an elder is always valued, even when his courage is questioned. The insult hung in the air, but Kizoth ignored it. They rely heavily on technology. Electromagnetic pulse weapons will temporarily blind their detection systems. They require regular sleep cycles. Their effectiveness diminishes after extended periods of alertness, and they are fiercely protective of their young. They will abandon tactical advantage to protect immature humans. Vex absorbed this information with a predator's calculating mind. These vulnerabilities will be exploited. My hunting party departs tomorrow. When we return, the trophy hall will display human specimens, and your warnings will be remembered as the overcaution of an elder past his prime. Kizoth watched as Vex departed the chamber, followed by several council members eager to discuss the upcoming hunt. When only Jurat remained, Kizoth approached her platform. You know I'm right, he said quietly. This hunt risks more than a single hunting party. Jurat's ancient eyes studied him. Perhaps, but the council must balance many considerations. The hunting guilds grow restless. Trophy quotas decline as more species receive protection status. Humans represent an expansive new hunting ground. Or our greatest threat, Kizoth countered. The data is insufficient to make that determination. Girat replied. Vex's expedition will provide necessary information. At what cost? That remains to be seen. Girat's platform began to drift toward the private council chambers. Prepare your ship, old friend. I suspect your services may be needed, regardless of the outcome. The human colony on Verdant had been established only 15 years earlier, but already showed the characteristic rapid development pattern of their species. What had begun as a simple research outpost now sprawled across the fertile valley, housing nearly 5,000 colonists. Agricultural complexes stretched to the horizon on one side, while mining operations cut into the mineral-rich hills on the other. Vex studied the settlement through enhanced optics from his vantage point 3 kilometers away. His hunting party, 15 of the Makari's finest young predators, waited in stealth formation behind him, weapons and systems primed. Their defenses are minimal, observed Threll, Vex's second-in-command. Automated perimeter sensors, some armed guards. Nothing that can detect our stealth systems. Vex continued his methodical scan of the colony. Remember Kzoth's warning. Their strength is adaptation. We strike hard, fast, collect our trophies, and withdraw before they can organize a response. The hunting party is ready, Threll confirmed. Strike teams are in position around the settlement perimeter. Vex activated his neural link to the hunting party's shared tactical network. Execute primary insertion. Phase 1 begins now. Across the valley, 5 2-hunter teams activated electromagnetic pulse generators, sending precisely calibrated energy waves toward the settlement. The human security systems went dark instantly. Communication arrays, perimeter sensors, automated defenses all temporarily disabled. Move, Vex ordered, and the hunting party advanced with preternatural speed and silence toward the now vulnerable settlement. The first phase of the hunt proceeded perfectly. 8 humans were taken in complete silence, 4 adults from outlying structures, and 4 from a small research station on the settlement's edge. The trophies were quickly transported back to the Makari hunting ship, hidden in the dense forest 10 kilometers away. Phase 1 complete, Threll reported as the hunting party regrouped at their fallback position. No alarms raised. The humans appear unaware of our presence. Vex felt the familiar rush of a successful hunt, but tempered his satisfaction. Kzoth claimed they adapted quickly. We will not remain to see if he was correct. Phase 2 will target their leadership compound. Then we withdraw immediately. The hunting party moved through the darkness toward the colony's central administrative complex, a cluster of reinforced buildings that housed the settlement's governance and security operations. According to their intelligence, the human leadership would be gathered there, providing the opportunity for premium trophies. As they approached the complex, Vex noticed something unusual. The buildings were dark, showing no signs of activity. His instincts, honed over centuries of hunting, sensed wrongness. Hold position, he commanded. Thermal scan. Threll activated advanced sensors. No significant heat signatures detected within the complex. It appears empty. Vex's unease grew. Impossible. Colony administrative functions would not be abandoned at night. Perhaps they evacuated when the power failed, suggested another hunter. No, Vex said firmly. They would not abandon their command center so easily. He expanded his scan to the surrounding area, searching for any sign of the missing humans. That's when he noticed the pattern. Small heat signatures distributed throughout the nearby structures, too small to be humans, moving in systematic patterns. Drones, he realized aloud. They deployed automated systems. As if triggered by his words, the night erupted in brilliant light. Powerful illumination arrays, hidden until now, flooded the area with light precisely calibrated to the frequency that most disrupted Makari vision. Vex roared in pain as his sensitive eyes absorbed the punishing glare. Through squinted eyelids, he saw the small drones converging on their position, deploying something into the air around them. Disperse, he commanded. Retreat to secondary positions. But the hunting party's movements had become sluggish. Vex felt his own muscles responding slower than normal, his reaction time degrading rapidly. "Chemical agent," gasped Threll beside him. "They're targeting our neurology." Understanding dawned with terrible clarity. The humans had studied Makari physiology, likely from the bodies of fallen hunters from previous expeditions. They had engineered a compound specifically designed to impair Makari nervous systems. Through the haze of the chemical assault, Vex activated his emergency protocols, sending a compressed data burst to the hunting ship. As darkness began to close in around his consciousness, his last thought was a reluctant admission. K'Zoth had been right. The humans weren't prey at all. They were something far more dangerous, an enemy that learned. Predators no more. K'Zoth's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Verdant system, its stealth systems immediately engaging. The vessel, smaller and faster than standard Makari hunting ships, had been modified extensively with technology scavenged from a dozen species. K'Zoth had spent decades perfecting it, creating a ship that could evade detection by even the most advanced scanning systems. The emergency signal from Vex's hunting party had reached him 16 hours earlier, a compressed data packet containing tactical information and biometric readings from the hunters. K'Zoth had analyzed it thoroughly during his journey to Verdant. The data told a grim story. "Computer, display final biometric readings from Hunter Vex," K'Zoth commanded. The ship's holographic system projected the vital signs recorded from Vex's hunting armor. Elevated stress indicators, neurological disruption patterns, and finally, flatland life signs. 13 of the 15 hunters showed similar patterns. 2 hunters had managed to escape the initial ambush, but their signals had gone dark shortly after, leaving their fate unknown. K'Zoth had expected this outcome, but seeing the confirmation still affected him deeply. Despite their differences, Vex had been a skilled hunter. His death represented a significant loss to the Makari. As the ship cruised silently toward Verdant, K'Zoth opened a secure compartment and removed an ancient artifact, a simple metal badge with unfamiliar symbols. He had taken it from the human settlement on Epsilon Reach years ago. His studies had revealed it to be a police identifier, a symbol of human law enforcement. K'Zoth had kept it as a reminder of the lesson he had learned there. The ship's sensors detected Vex's hunting vessel still in orbit around Verdant, powered down and seemingly abandoned. K'Zoth approached cautiously, scanning for any signs of life or traps. No Makari life signs detected, his ship's computer reported. Human presence aboard, 4 individuals. K'Zoth's mandibles clicked in surprise. The humans had captured a Makari hunting vessel intact, a significant breach of protocol. Standard procedure required self-destruction, rather than allowing hunting technology to fall into prey hands. But of course, the hunting party had been incapacitated before they could activate such measures. K'Zoth transmitted a specialized signal to Vex's ship, a guild master override code that would allow him to access the vessel's systems remotely. The code was accepted, and data began flowing to his ship. The vessel's logs confirmed his fears. The hunting party had been ambushed with precision, their own tactics used against them. The humans had clearly prepared extensively for this encounter. What disturbed K'Zoth most was not the loss of the hunting party, but what the logs revealed about the human response. Rather than simply defending their settlement, the humans had captured Makari hunters alive whenever possible. They had studied the hunters' equipment, their biological samples, their ship's technology, not just to defend against future hunts, but to understand their adversary completely. This was not the behavior of prey. This was the methodical analysis of a potential threat by a species that eliminated threats permanently. A new signal caught K'Zoth's attention. The humans on Vex's ship were transmitting a message, not in any standard galactic communication protocol, but in basic Makari hunting code. Someone on that ship had deciphered their most secretive language. The message was simple. "We know you're watching. We need to talk." K'Zoth considered his options. The prudent choice would be to retreat, return to the Makari homeworld, and report what he had found. But that would only delay the inevitable. The humans now possessed Makari technology, understanding of their biology, and most dangerously, knowledge of their homeworld's location from the ship's navigation systems. War between humans and Makari was now inevitable, unless he could somehow prevent it. Kizoth engaged his ship's communication system and responded in the same basic hunting code. I will talk. Neutral territory. Send coordinates. The response came immediately with coordinates for a small moon orbiting the system's outermost gas giant. No settlements, no defenses, nowhere for either party to set an ambush. As Kizoth guided his ship toward the meeting point, he prepared himself mentally for what might be the most important hunt of his life, not for trophies, but for survival. The surface of the barren moon offered nothing but dust and rock, its thin atmosphere barely registering on Kizoth's environmental sensors. He had landed his ship a kilometer from the designated meeting point, approaching the final distance on foot, a sign of both caution and respect in Makari culture. A small human shuttle rested at the coordinates, its design unfamiliar to Kizoth, not standard human military or colonial design. As he approached, a single figure emerged from the craft, wearing an environmental suit adapted for the moon's harsh conditions. The human was tall for their species, moving with the confident grace of a seasoned fighter. They carried no visible weapons, though Kizoth had no doubt weapons were available if needed. When they reached a point 20 meters apart, both stopped. The human removed their helmet, revealing features Kizoth recognized as female, with close-cropped gray hair and skin weathered by decades of exposure to different environments. Her eyes, sharp and evaluating, studied him with the same careful assessment he was giving her. "I am Commander Alessandra Chen," she said, her voice transmitted clearly through Kizoth's translator. "Former Earth Alliance Special Forces, currently serving as security director for the Verdant Colony." Kizoth appreciated the direct approach. "I am Guild Master Kizoth of the Makari Hunting Coalition. I am here regarding the hunting party led by Hunter Vex. The hunting party that attempted to abduct and kill our colonists," Chen clarified, her tone matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. "Yes," Kizoth acknowledged. There was no point in denial. Chen studied him for a moment. "You're not like the others. Your ship is different. Your approach is different. You came alone." "I am not here to hunt," Kizoth said. "I am here to prevent what comes next." "And what comes next, in your estimation?" Kizoth's four eyes fixed on her. "War. A war the Makari cannot win, but one that will cost both our species dearly before that becomes apparent to my leadership." Commander Chen's expression remained neutral, but Kizoth detected a slight shift in her posture, surprise, perhaps, at his candor. "You've hunted humans before," she stated. "Once," Kizoth confirmed. "I was the only survivor of that expedition. I have spent the decades since studying your species, trying to convince my people that humans should not be classified as prey. Because we fight back." "Because you do not merely fight back," Kizoth explained. "You solve problems. When faced with a predator, most species evolve defenses over generations. Humans engineer solutions immediately, share that knowledge instantaneously across your population, and systematically eliminate the threat so thoroughly that it can never return." Chen nodded slowly. "An accurate assessment. So why are we talking instead of fighting?" "Because I believe there is another solution," Kizoth said. "One that doesn't end with extinction, yours or mine." "I'm listening." Kizoth reached slowly into a compartment in his armor and withdrew the police badge he had taken years ago. He held it out toward Chen. "On my first hunt against humans, I learned that your species has its own predatory instincts. You have hunters, those who track criminals, enforce your laws. But you have rules, codes that govern when and how that predatory nature is expressed." Chen took the badge, examining it with curiosity. "This is from Earth. Old style. Where did you get it?" "Epsilon Reach. After the hunting party I was part of was defeated, I studied the humans there from hiding. I observed your hierarchies, your social structures. I came to understand that humans channel their predatory instincts into specialized roles: police, military, security. And this matters because it suggests our species are not so different as they appear, Kizoth explained. The Makari hunt because it is our evolutionary heritage, our cultural identity. But we too have codes, rules that govern the hunt. Chen handed the badge back to Kizoth, rules that apparently allow hunting sentient beings for sport. A practice I now recognize as flawed, Kizoth admitted, but one deeply ingrained in our culture for millennia. It cannot be eliminated overnight without destroying Makari society. But it can be redirected. Toward what? Partnership, Kizoth said simply. The galaxy contains genuine threats to both our species, predators that recognize no codes, no rules of engagement. The Makari need not be your enemy. We could be your hunters. Chen's eyes narrowed, considering the implications. You're proposing some kind of alliance. Your hunters working with human security forces. Under strict protocols, against mutual threats, Kizoth confirmed. The Makari would maintain our cultural identity as hunters, while recognizing humans not as prey, but as fellow predators with whom we share hunting grounds. And your leadership would accept this. Chen sounded skeptical. Not easily, Kizoth acknowledged, but they will accept it as an alternative to war with a species that turns predators into prey, especially when they see the evidence I've gathered. Kizoth activated a small projector on his armor, displaying images of various predatory species throughout the galaxy, some familiar to humans, others unknown. The Scoro hive collectives that consume entire ecosystems, the Vex neural parasites that enslave sentient species, the Draconid expansion forces that cleanse habitable worlds of native life. These are worthy prey, genuine threats that both our species have encountered separately. Chen studied the projections, her expression thoughtful. And you believe Makari hunters partnered with human forces would be more effective against these threats? Undeniably, Kizoth said. The Makari possess evolutionary adaptations perfected for hunting. Enhanced senses, physical capabilities beyond human norms, instinctive tactical assessment. Humans possess unprecedented problem-solving abilities, technological innovation, and adaptive strategy. Together, we would be formidable. Chen crossed her arms, considering. Your proposal is interesting, but there's the small matter of your hunters who attacked our colony. 5 of them died resisting capture. 8 remain in our custody. What condition are they in? Kizoth asked. Alive, Chen replied simply. We're not barbarians who collect trophies from sentient beings. The rebuke was subtle but clear. Kizoth accepted it with a slight bow of his head. Their actions were sanctioned by our hunting codes, but I understand now those codes must evolve. The survivors could become the first ambassadors of this new partnership, if they accept the new reality. And if they don't, then they remain your prisoners, Kizoth said firmly. In Makari culture, a failed hunter has no claim to freedom. They were defeated fairly. Chen uncrossed her arms and took a step forward. I need to be clear about something, Guildmaster Kizoth. Human colonies will never accept being hunting grounds. Any partnership would require absolute recognition of human sovereignty and personhood. Understood and accepted, Kizoth replied without hesitation. The old ways must change if the Makari are to survive the coming centuries. Chen studied him for a long moment, her experienced eyes searching for deception. Finally, she nodded. I don't have the authority to accept or reject your proposal on behalf of humanity, but I can facilitate the conversation. That is all I ask, Kizoth said, a chance to prevent unnecessary conflict. There's something else you should know, Chen said. Something I think will help your case with your council. She produced a small data device and held it out to Kizoth. This contains historical records from Earth's past, specifically, humanity's relationship with predators on our homeworld. Kizoth accepted the device cautiously. What does it show? Every predator that humans ever categorized as an enemy is extinct or exists only in our wildlife preserves, Chen said bluntly. Not because we hunted them to extinction for sport, but because when they threatened us, we eliminated the threat completely. Lions, tigers, wolves, bears, apex predators that once hunted humans now exist only because we choose to protect them. She gestured to the stars above them. Out here, we're applying the same principle. Species that recognize mutual boundaries thrive alongside humanity. Those that view us as prey learn what Earth's predators learned millennia ago. Kizoth integrated the data device into his armor systems, briefly reviewing its contents. The historical record was sobering, a pattern repeated across continents and centuries. Human evolution was defined not by fleeing from predators, but by systematically removing them as threats. This will be persuasive evidence, Kizoth acknowledged. The Council must understand that humans do not fit any prey category in our classification system. We never did, Chen said simply. Kizoth's communicator signaled an incoming transmission from Makari space, likely the High Council demanding a report on Vex's hunting party. I must return to present your proposal, Kizoth said. The Council will require significant persuasion. Centuries of tradition do not change easily. We'll prepare a formal diplomatic delegation, Chen replied. Meanwhile, I suggest a temporary moratorium on all Makari hunting activities in human-controlled space. Agreed, Kizoth said immediately. I will issue the directive with my authority as Guildmaster. As they prepared to return to their respective vessels, Chen asked one final question. Why did you come here alone, knowing what happened to Vex's party? You must have realized the risk. Kizoth considered the question carefully. In all my centuries as a hunter, I learned one crucial lesson. True wisdom comes not from accumulating trophies, but from recognizing when the hunt itself has become counterproductive. He looked out across the barren lunar landscape. The Makari have hunted across the stars for millennia, believing ourselves to be the galaxy's apex predators. But the galaxy is changing. New predators emerge, some with technologies, some with abilities we cannot match. If the Makari are to survive, we must evolve beyond simply being predators. And what will you become instead? Chen asked. Something new, Kizoth replied. Something that preserves our heritage while acknowledging the changing reality. Perhaps for the first time in our history, we will become partners rather than simply predators. Chen smiled slightly, the first genuine expression Kizoth had seen from her. Evolution can be painful. Indeed, Kizoth agreed, but extinction is permanent. 3 cycles later, Kizoth stood once again before the Makari High Council, but this time he was not alone. Commander Chen stood beside him, along with representatives from the Earth Alliance Diplomatic Court. The chamber had been expanded to accommodate the human delegation, and the council members watched with mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Kizoth had spent days in closed session with the council, presenting the evidence from Vex's failed hunt, the historical data Chen had provided, and his proposal for a new relationship between their species. The debate had been heated, with many traditionalists arguing for a full-scale military response to the loss of the hunting party. But Kizoth had a powerful ally in High Councilor Jiret, who recognized the existential threat a war with humans would represent. Together, they had managed to convince enough council members to at least hear the human delegation's proposal. The council recognizes Commander Alessandra Chen of Earth Alliance, Jiret announced formally, signaling for Chen to speak. Chen stepped forward, her diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the ornate biological armor of the Makari councilors. Honorable Council, I come before you not as prey, but as a representative of a sovereign species seeking mutual understanding, she began. For too long, our interactions have been defined by misclassification. Humans are not Category 3 prey species. We are apex problem solvers who eliminated the natural predators of our homeworld not through superior physical adaptation, but through intelligence, cooperation, and technological innovation. She activated a holographic display showing various human achievements, massive engineering projects, medical advancements, space habitats constructed in environments hostile to all life. What Guild Master Kizoth has proposed represents an opportunity for both our species. The Makari need not abandon their identity as hunters, only redirect that evolutionary heritage toward mutual benefit. Chen gestured to the images now showing various threats facing both species, the same predatory forces Kizoth had identified earlier. These are challenges neither of our species can optimally address alone. Together, however, combining Makari hunting instinct and physical capabilities with human problem-solving and technological innovation, we could form the galaxy's most effective defense against genuine threats. Kizoth watched the council members carefully, noting their reactions. Some remained skeptical, but others were clearly intrigued by the possibility. As a gesture of good faith, Chen continued, "The Earth Alliance is prepared to release the Makari hunters captured during the Verdant incident, provided they accept the new protocols governing interaction between our species. Additionally, we offer access to certain technological developments that would enhance Makari hunting capabilities against non-sentient threats." This caught the Council's attention. Makari culture valued technological advancement, particularly when it enhanced their predatory capabilities. In return, Chen concluded, "We ask for formal recognition of all human settlements as sovereign territory, exempt from hunting activities, and the establishment of a joint task force to address mutual threats." High Counselor Juret raised a clawed hand. "Commander Chen, while your proposal has merit, you must understand that hunting has defined Makari culture for millennia. Our social hierarchies, our spiritual practices, our entire civilization is built upon the hunt. We do not ask you to stop hunting," Chen clarified, "only to hunt alongside us rather than hunting us. The galaxy offers no shortage of genuine threats and challenges worthy of Makari skill." Kizoth stepped forward. "Honorable Council, throughout our history, the Makari have adapted our hunting practices as circumstances required. When we first reached the stars, we discovered many new species and adjusted our hunting codes accordingly. This is simply another such adaptation. Recognition that the galaxy has changed, and we must change with it." He activated his own display, showing projections of Makari population decline over recent centuries. "Our traditional practices cannot sustain us indefinitely. Each year, we lose hunters to increasingly dangerous prey, while protected species restrict our hunting grounds. This partnership offers a path forward that preserves our identity while ensuring our survival." The council chamber fell silent as the members contemplated the proposal. Finally, Juret spoke. "We will require time to consider all aspects of this proposal. The implications for Makari society are profound." She turned to Commander Chen. "In the meantime, the Council decrees a temporary suspension of all hunting activities in human-controlled space as a gesture of good faith while negotiations continue." Chen bowed respectfully. The Earth Alliance appreciates this gesture and looks forward to productive discussions. As the formal session concluded and the council members began to disperse, Kizoth and Chen stepped aside for a private moment. "This is only the beginning," Kizoth cautioned. "Many hunters will resist this change. Tradition does not yield easily to innovation, even when survival depends on it." "Change never comes without resistance," Chen replied. "But the alternative is worse for both our species." Kizoth looked out through the chamber's massive transparent dome to the stars beyond. For countless generations, the Makari had seen those stars as hunting grounds, the species inhabiting them as potential trophies. Now he was asking his people to see something different, a galaxy of potential allies and mutual challenges. "In human culture," Chen said, following his gaze, "there's a concept called co-evolution. Species that initially seem at odds, predator and prey, competitor and competitor, sometimes develop relationships that benefit both. What begins as conflict evolves into cooperation." Kizoth considered this. "Perhaps that is our path forward. Not predator and prey, but co-evolved hunters addressing larger threats together." "It won't be easy," Chen acknowledged. "The most worthy hunts never are," Kizoth replied. As they stood together, hunter and human, former predator and former prey. The stars beyond seemed to hold new possibilities. For millennia, the Makari had defined themselves as the galaxy's apex predators. But in encountering humanity, they had discovered something unexpected, not just another species to hunt, but perhaps the first species they could truly recognize as equals. For Kizoth, after centuries of hunting across the stars, this represented his greatest challenge and potentially his most significant achievement, helping his species evolve beyond being mere predators into something new. The hunt would continue, but its nature would change, becoming not just a test of predatory skill, but a cooperative venture against common threats. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in their long history, the Makari would change with it, not from weakness, but from the wisdom that sometimes the most successful predators know when to recognize potential allies rather than prey.